Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to Vendor Showcase. I'm Cindy Drozda, and I am here to introduce everyone. We have been doing this for ever since about June 2020 when the AAW did their first virtual during the pandemic, and we do this about twice a year now. The five of us are all online demonstrators and tool vendors. And we've got quite a great program planned for you guys today. We're going to do some mini demos. We have maybe collaborations, one anyway, or two, right. And all of us have made finished pieces that we're going to auction off for the charity of the year. I'm so glad everyone is here. Yeah, so I would put everyone's names up on the screen, but we want to get right into introducing everyone who's on the panel.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lyle, Jamieson, and got a lot of familiar names and a bunch of new ones out there coming on, but I think most of you know my name, but been around for decades. And but I wanted to introduce my stepson, Mike, is going to be a part of this also. He's going to finish the piece that I'm going to be working on in my demonstration. So we'll be both working with you.
So welcome everybody to Vendor Showcase Spring 2025. My name's Todd Rains. I am the owner of Woodturning Tool Store. So we're here in Allen, Texas, and we've been here for 8 years. We've been doing adding products year over year. So this year it's been some 3D printed products. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Here's Joe Fleming.
Hey, everybody. I have my spare batteries ready. Hi, I'm Joe Fleming. I'm the owner of Airbrushing Wood. I've been doing this now for 10 years, and all things airbrushing. I carry Grex airbrush products. They're airbrushes, they're accessories, compressors, etc. And until recently, their paint. Grex lost the deal they had with the company they had been procuring the paint from for 25 years. And so I'm switching to a new brand. I'll talk about that in a little while. And I also carry some Grex Air tools. They have a random orbital sander, a die grinder, a right angle die grinder, and a carving tool that you can put 2-inch saber-tooth discs or cut-saw discs, and I do sell saber-tooth discs for those tools. Anyway, those are available, and that's what I got.
All right, and here's Steve Worcester.
Hi, I'm Steve Worcester. I am with turningwood.com. We've been in business for almost 26 years. We are purveyors of high-quality abrasives from Mirka out of Finland, and 3D printed products as well. This is our new disc tower that I'll talk about later. And just happy to be here.
Great. Thanks, Steve. And next up is me. Welcome. I'm Cindy Drozda, and I'm here in Erie, Colorado, where we got a tiny bit of snow last night. And I'm in my shop here. And I just want to say a little bit about what I do. I do a lot of free stuff that maybe some of you know about and have been to. Every other Friday, I do a live stream. And Todd and I do a joint sharing session on Zoom. The next one will be on June 5th. I've got a lot of other things coming up, but I'll get to that in my next session.
So this... what I'm going to talk about now is the charity we're doing. So we do an auction during this live session, and what you'll see in the panel over on the side here is everybody showing their auction piece. So I'll do the same here and switch to that. So this is my auction pieces, 2 turned eggs, one with some jewels and one with some inks and dyes and stuff, so and a little bit of pattern. So these will go, I think I'll put them up individually to try and raise more money, because the charity of choice today is St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. So it's a charity that is leading the way The world understands, treats, and defeats childhood cancer and other life-threatening diseases. Their mission is to advance cures and means of prevention for pediatric catastrophic diseases through research and treatment. It was started by Danny Thomas years ago, and so that's our charity of choice. So all the money raised is going to go to that charity. I have 2 eggs. Cindy up there has a collaboration with her and Lyle, so it's a black holoform on one of Cindy's pedestals. Steve has a couple of almost Oriental style urn type vessels sitting on his headstock there, so those are beautiful. Joe has got an airbrushed plate, I guess, or a platter. I'm not quite sure. And Mike OB from Lyle's shop is going to be doing finishing off the holoform that Lyle's doing today live. And so Mike will finish that piece, and that will be the 4th auction, 5th auction item. So we will have a lot of fun. I've been already throwing chips this morning, getting this piece ready for my demo. So this is how short term I kind of plan ahead sometimes. It's not really that great, but St. Jude's Medical Children's Research Hospital has been around for a long time, and we did donate to this charity, I think in one of the first years of the vendor showcase, 2021 or something like that. So we each get a turn. So in the fall vendor showcase, one of the other 5 of us will get a choice of their charity. Each one of us has covered charities every time. So a couple from Lyle, a couple from Steve, a couple from Joe, a couple from Cindy, a couple from me now. So and I think each time we've almost raised, I think at a high, we've raised $2,500, almost $3,000. So last fall, I think we raised around $1,600. So these are great things. We each have our own charities that we deal with and like to work with. So this is mine and Shelley. So let's get on to it, and let's go ahead and start the show.
Lyle is first up. Here we are, Lyle.
There we are. Okay. Thank you, Cindy and Todd. That's a great introduction. I'm going to do some new things. I guess we've got a bunch of people that are frequent visitors to our vendor showcase, and welcome back, and lots of new people. And because we're vendors, we're going to show off our tools, but I want to do something that I'm not known for, or don't do regularly. I've been having fun with black on black. If you notice the piece that we're going to do something similar to this to auction off. And the black on black comes from Maria Martinez. She was a pioneer from San Ildefonso, New Mexico. She was known for the matte and glossy black on black finish that she did. Now, this was over 100 years ago in the very early 1900s, 1920 era. And she transformed pottery to works of art, and got international recognition, is known, and she's got pieces of great value in almost every museum in the country, very prolific. And so I'm using my wood and some texturing techniques to kind of mimic that black on black pottery plan. And so we'll show you how I do that a little bit. First, we're going to do a little bit of hollowing. Okay, so I've done a lot of pre-work here because in 20 minutes we don't have time to do a whole hollow form and things, but so I've made my outside shape, and the top quadrant is going to be where the texturing and pattern will be. And I wanted to show the piece that I made for Cindy's collaborative has a really flat top on it. And there's some issues with turning and hollowing that are more difficult when we make a flat top like that. So I'm going to play around a little bit between what I did for Cindy and then what Mike's going to finish for me when I get this hollowed out. So at first, when we get in there, I'm going to have to move the swivel. First, I have my bent swivel holder in here, and the bent swivel kicks that over to the left so that I can undercut the shoulders and get around there. And I'm going to need to use the swivel, and this is an important feature of my system. The swivel has an infinite range of motion. So I'm going to swivel that all the way around and kind of pointing back almost towards the tailstock a bit. And I can get in there. So let's start with this one though. Okay. So I can get in here now and start to undercut the shoulder. So I've hollowed out some of that inside, but I want to get some of this waste wood out of here first. Okay. Now let's set up the laser. Laser is a critical element that we use to measure the wall. And now we're going to set up a gap. The gap between the laser and the cutter is going to be my wall thickness. And I want to look in the camera, so the camera's working right here. Okay, now let's move the laser over and make a gap. The gap now is going to be about 1/8 of an inch between the laser. You see the laser dot, it's kind of a small dot there. Okay, between the laser and the cutter, there we go. And the arrow line is 90 degrees from the surface that I'm going to be cutting inside there. And so let me tighten that down, make sure everything's good. Okay, so now when I'm in there, the laser's a dot. Let me shut this light off a little bit. The laser's a dot on top of the vessel, and I can see where I'm at in there. But I want that to disappear, and it's going to come off the front of it as if I'm undercutting a shoulder. There it is. See where it's coming off the top? And now the lasers came off the top. It's just whisking off the top. And as soon as if I can get it to shine on, well, the camera's not picking it up. It's shining right here. Let's see if I can, it doesn't really, the camera doesn't pick it up. It's shining right here on the surface because it's so flat. It just shines for a very second and then it drops off. And when it drops off, the gap is left behind. So now I've measured that undercut shoulder. So let's do that again. Make the laser disappear. There it is. It disappeared. It's shining on the bed of the lathe. So I can come across in a very steep shouldered vessel like the one that I did for Cindy and I's collaborative. So now let's go back to doing this shape. So we're going to put the swivel now back facing forward. And let's get rid of all of this mess that we started with. So there we go. Now we're into our hogged off spot. Let's reset the laser for this territory right here. See where it was before is way in a different place. So now we're going to go way over here and again set it for about 1/8 of an inch. And now the laser again is a dot on the surface until we start to measure. And when we get elongated a little bit and then it falls off and disappears, again it's shining down here. All right, so laser to dot, and then we're just using our fingertips here and we're going to make that laser disappear. It gets elongated first and then it drops off, and that measures the wall. Stop. 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 Every time the laser disappears, I know I've measured that wall very accurately now. Now I'm just going to take my fingertips and clean up the tool marks. And once that's cleaned up, with a very, very fingertip control that we have, we can go on to another stage. So I'm going to measure again, make the laser disappear. Stop, 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 stop. Okay. And clean up the tool marks. Real simple. Can't get a catch. Can't get anything grabby happening. Let's stop and take a look. Oh yeah, you can see maybe better without the light. Very nice surface here. I got just a little bit of a bump in the middle. I don't think you can see it on the camera, but I got just a little bump there. So how do we get rid of tool marks? Again, just with the fingertip control, and I'm going to do it with the lathe off. All right, yeah, I can feel it. There's a little bump in there, and with the lathe off, I'm going to go bump, bump. I feel a little undulation in there. Get a little muscle memory, get a little feel going, and now I'm going to turn the lathe on, and I'm going to start in front of it. Hear the little hiss of the shaving, and sweep through it. Little tiny shavings, and clean up the tool marks. It's real easy with the fingertip control. All right, so let's go in, and I'm going to undercut the shoulder a little bit around here, so I want to swivel that swivel around a little bit more. Oop. Nah, don't do that. All right, now that I move the swivel, and I'm working in a different place, I'm going to just kind of skip over here and work at the largest diameter. So at the largest diameter, the long line is the tangent, the area that I'm going to work on. The arrow gives me the 90 degrees to go through that section perpendicular, with the gap being my measuring device. The gap is now perpendicular through the wall. It's going to give me an accurate reading. So the lasers are critical. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go down here in the middle where that large diameter is. Got some waste wood in there to get away. There it is. Now it's starting. Okay, so as soon as that laser gets elongated, you see it's a dot now, and then it gets elongated. That tells me I'm getting close. And then when the laser disappears, the wall's measured right there, right? So I just go stage by stage by stage, measure the wall, make the laser disappear, and hollow that out, okay? Now let me pretend I've hollowed this all out. We got more territory to cover here of embellishment. Everybody wants to, a lot of people anyway, are really interested in embellishment. And what we're doing with this is we're texturing the background and leaving the pattern untouched. And then the light reflects off of the roughed up surface different than it does the polished surface, and it acts like the black on black pottery from Maria Martinez. And we can add any pattern that we want in here. This happens to be one of Maria's famous feather patterns that she used, but we're going to do something different for the one for the auction. All right, I'm going to take just a plain little piece of wood here. It's just a piece of maple. Okay, and we're going to taking a plain little piece of maple here, just a board, just to what I'm using here for this hollow form is maple, but this works much better with a really fine grain wood rather than something like oak, and I did some of these in mulberry that had a grain in it, and the grain kind of heavier grain character woods kind of the grain still shows in that, and that's good news and bad news. But when I'm trying to put these designs on it, I didn't want the grain to interfere with it, so I prefer something fine grain like cherry or maple that doesn't have much of a grain character. All right, so we're going to use now just an inexpensive Dremel. I think it's a Dremel. There it is. Yep, it's a Dremel vibrating engraver, and it's got just a point on it that's not. It's sharp, but it's not razor sharp. It's just tapered down so that it's got a pretty sharp edge on it. Okay, it's kind of ugly noise, so it won't be very long, and we're just gonna make little tiny circles. Watch my fingers go in circles. And then after a while, if you can see the little tiny circles, after a while, the circles disappear because you overlap them. Okay, pretty easy to make any kind of pattern you want. This is just Indie ink that I'm using. And usually I'll take a little brush and brush it on, but we can just slobber some on here. Now, normally I'd let this ink completely dry. Which doesn't take very long. It's a water-based ink, so it doesn't take very long. And now you can see the surface there. And then once you put a finish on it, now you can see, if I get the light to shine on it, the roughness doesn't reflect the light like the polished surface does. And so that gives you your black on black. All right. Okay. So that's the process. Not too complicated, pretty simple, I think, for anybody to pick that kind of thing up. Wanted to show you another piece here that this is one that Betty Scarpino did. And two little lessons here. One, that you can do something really sweet and exquisite. Let me zoom out a little bit for this. You don't have to do big things to have fun and do something really nice. But what she did is she actually carved a different level between what she textured and what she didn't texture. And that makes another little level. Mine was not carved. The pattern on mine is totally just textured without any carving involved. I did take on the newer ones, I took the black, or I took the burning tool and outlined the pattern with the burning tool that kind of made a knife cut and a nice clean cut between each one with the burning tool rather than the rough surface of the just the
Lyle,
Yes.
you got 5 minutes and you have a question.
Good.
Could
Let's
you
have a
show
question.
the texturing burr again?
Show the tip of it.
The texturing tool that you used.
Yeah. It's
The
just
tip of it also.
just a vibrating engraver, right? And I've sharpened the point, so it's got a sharp point on it. It's not going to hurt you, but it's a relatively sharp point. And so you're just vibrating, just roughing up the texture of the surface is all you're doing. And then the light reflects differently on it. Okay. When you don't outline it, I don't know if we can see it any better there. When you don't outline it with the burning first, it's hard to make a really nice clean line between the texturing and the non-texturing with the vibrator. You can do it pretty good if you take your time, but I like to outline the pattern with the burning tool first. That demarks where it's textured and where it's not textured. Okay. So what Mike's going to do now when we get done with this, or I am really at this point done with the hollowing demo, the next demo that we're all going to do 2 segments, and the next one I'm going to do a tool review, and we're going to go over the boring bar and laser and everything again with the tool in mind rather than the process in mind. I normally never finish any of my demo pieces. I always kind of just toss them in a box and they get thrown away sooner or later. But because of the auction, Mike wanted to finish this piece, and so he'll have a pattern that Mike's got maybe some ideas here. If we've got another couple minutes, or we can. I guess we're into it enough that you've got a big enough audience now that we can include the audience in this a little bit. Mike, you want to explain what you want to do with this? What you got ideas you got?
I've got a million ideas. I want to look at more of the pottery that you were inspired by to do this. But I would also like, if whoever bids on this, if you have a special pattern that you'd like me to incorporate into the work, we can discuss that. And I'd like to try something unique, or you can just let me go on my own and find my own route. So I've got some cool ideas that I want to do with the outside after I finish hollowing it and do the bottom, and I'll be posting that on YouTube how I finish it.
Great. So I think it might be a couple minutes early, but I think I've covered all I can do at this point without setting the boring bar back up again. So while we're here, I've got some quick answers to some questions that were in chat. Somebody asked about finishing on the ink. The ink, you usually need 2 or 3 coats of ink to get a really nice solid black. So there's ink on there that absorbs the finish. So I use a wiping varnish. I put some finish on it and wipe it off so that I don't have any runs or drips or anything on it. And so I just continue to put 3 or 4 coats of wiping varnish until the polish gets up to where you want to. The first couple coats are going to be matte because it soaks into the ink. But you can use anything you want. You want lacquer or spray finish, whatever you want to use right over the ink should be a problem. It's no different than the wood as far as it just takes a little bit of absorption. Somebody asked about the wood burning tool. The one that I'm using is coal wood, but woodburning.com is their address, but there's other wood burning good ones in the turning catalogs. Packard and whatnot have wood burning sets in them. So those are the 2 questions that I had that I know of.
And Lyle's going to be teaching me both of those processes, both the wood burning, texturing, and then I'll be attempting them on the piece that is on his lathe right now. So that's what
Couple more questions for you guys too. Mike is asking, can the outline of the cutting be done like a pattern on a scroll saw? And I'm not sure what that means. There's another one.
I think it means like temporarily gluing the paper down. You do that on scroll saw patterns. You'll put the paper down, drill out, an empty space, and then cut that out in the scroll saw. I don't know. It'd be hard to put, tracing paper down on a curved surface. That's the only thing. Frisket might work, right, Lyle?
Yeah, I've done not a lot, but over the years, quite often, I've done some shallow relief carving and other things, as well as this black on black thing. And people ask about it all the time. I says, it's really easy. The hardest part is tracing the pattern on. Once the pattern's traced on, it's a piece of cake. So you got to find a way. I did one with stars, and how do you make a 5-pointed star? It's really, there's no math that does it. So I had to make a template, and yeah, this is a more complex one that I'm working on. I don't know if we can see it in the, you have to just draw the pattern on first and then be able to outline it. So the work is easier than the pattern. So it's just a matter of finding. I've used a little plastic sheet and cut out a pattern. I've used a piece of fiberboard, or a thick paper pad, something that I can cut a pattern out of and then trace around.
What did you use?
I used a wiping varnish, just a
Poly.
What's the name of it? Minwax, wipe on poly.
Oh, okay.
There's another one here. Golden makes a gloss archival varnish that works really well, but I'm lazy. I don't like to build up finishes and steel wool and mess with it in between coats. So wiping on and wiping off works for me. I don't have any dust particles or drips or runs or anything. If you're good with a rattle can, there's, you can use lacquer or anything else. You can use any finish that you've been using pretty much. I don't think there'd be any problems just covering the ink up with anything. When I first started, I started to polish them a little bit because I had some dull spots. I used to polish it with black shoe polish. Now I just put another coat of polyurethane on, and it sooner or later it'll get a nice even finish.
Lyle, how do you sharpen your cutters?
For the high-speed steel cutters that are used in my system and many others, the 3/16 high-speed steel cutter, I have a sharpening jig that holds the cutter, and with the Wolverine sliding arm, the little square sliding arm, you drill a little hole in that sliding arm at the pivot point, and then it works just like a bowl gouge. Very nice to keep your fingers away from it. In the good old days before there were cutters, I just took my hand and put it on the tool rest of the grinder and manipulated it by hand. It's not too hard to do, but this will save the tool life and be able to use it for a lot longer. The carbide cutter, on the other hand, which I use almost all the time, is not sharpenable. The carbide doesn't wear. It stays sharp for a long, long time. But once it starts to deteriorate, then it's just replaceable.
Thank you, Lyle. And here is Todd next.
All right. Well, thank you, Lyle. Great demo. As he was doing that, I was turning this and getting ready for my demo in the second half of the show segment. I've got 10 minutes here. I'm going to talk a little bit about, Woodturning Tool Store and who we are, what we do. So this is me, Woodturning Tool Store. We're here in Allen, Texas. My phone number and email are there. They're on the website. The QR code up in the corner is to get onto the newsletter. So you get advised about these. Hopefully most of you are on my newsletter, but pass it around, let people know, get onto my newsletter, Cindy's newsletter, Lyle and Steve and Joe. So we all kind of work together and help each other out as small vendors. So that's how we keep in touch. If you have any questions, call me after the show, anytime during the work week or even weekends. Here's the woodcut tools, bowl coring, Proform tools, sharpening tools, the Pro Mount, which is a great thing. The mill drill, we've been out of stock for like 6 months. They've been having troubles getting those made and to me. So got a shipment coming, I think, in May. So that'll be good. Then modular handle system, I talked about that. You can see all the adapter sizes there. And LEO drive, we talked about that. There's a picture of me kind of using it there on some bowl. Robust tools. There's all sorts of robust tools, robust lathes if you need a lathe. I think 3 of us sell lathes, so you can choose one of us to purchase a lathe from. So gauge and measuring products, those ones are on sale. Not all of these, but a selection that's on the special deals page. So, and here's the 3D printed stuff. So this I put on sale when I first brought it out. I got into 3D printing and I made this little guy. It's a radius gauge. It's the one right above me here. We've got some bevel angle gauges and a segmenting disc. So let me go back to overhead. I'll show this guy just to kind of see it. It is a 3D printed plastic part. This is about a 3/4 inch. This is not about, it's a 3/4 inch diameter. And it's marked in millimeters from the center here out. That's why it's called a radius gauge, because you'll get the diameter that way. So when I made this tenon here, I just basically laid that on here, start up the lathe. I'll just start it up slowly. And let me see if I can get this shot. From there, you just kind of hold it there. It spins freely on the 3/4 inch by 10 threads, and you can mark your diameters just like that. So 25 millimeters is marked, 50 millimeters is marked. I put it in millimeters because I have an easier time dividing millimeters in half than fractions of an inch. So, so if your chuck is 2 inches, that's 100 millimeters. Sorry, 50 millimeters. You divide that in half to get 25 millimeter mark. I got a 4-inch chuck here, and so that's 100 millimeters thereabouts. So I'd put it at 50, 55 somewhere in there for that diameter. So easy way to mark your tenon and stuff like that. So that's kind of fun. All right, I think we have up next Joe.
Hey everybody, Joe Fleming here, airbrushing wood. And I showed a picture of a plate that I'm painting, and I'm in the process of doing it. I had some technical difficulties a little bit yesterday setting it up, so I didn't get it quite done. So this is what the finished plate will look like when it's done. So it's a lighthouse in contrast with a kind of a setting sun going down behind there, and you can get an idea of what that's going to look like. Here is the plate in progress. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to work on this. I should have it done here, maybe by the end of this rotation here, but certainly by the end of the show, so you can see what you're bidding on. It's about a 10-inch plate, and it's birch. I'm going to turn it over so you can see the grain. So there is, and by the way, the light color you see around, well, you don't see it like I do. I have to put some finish on here, but you can kind of see that ridge line right there. I did some sanding around the edge, and this will get refinished. But anyway, you can see that there's dark wood and light wood. And so I'm leveraging that on the design here. I'm going to come to the picture that I'm using. So this is the original picture. And one of the things when I do painting and I'm putting it on something, I find a picture that I like, is I have to decide how do you scale it. Now the one that I have here, I scaled it with, let's see, I've got the original sitting over here somewhere. So you can kind of see what before and after looks like. There it is. So here's the original picture that I used on the first plate. The plate was the same size. But what I discovered was that after I painted it, that the picture was too small for the frame. And the reason why I did it this way is because, you know, your first inclination is if you have a picture, you usually end up with something in a rectangle, square shape, whether it's vertical or horizontal. And there's a tendency to want to make sure that all the corners stay in the picture. Not really necessary, because if you think about it, I'm going to end up having to fill in all this area up here with something, these sidebars over here with something, and this bottom area was something. And it ends up making the picture too small for the piece. So what I've done is this time around, as I said, let's scale it up. So the beauty of PowerPoint, I scaled it up, I slid it over, and I don't care that the corners are falling off because I'm just going to paint to the edges, but I have a lot less area to fill up. And I can make it scale more nicely. Now, when I do a painting like this, a couple considerations. I talked about the grain, and on this particular piece, you can see that there's some cathedral grain right here in the wood. And what I'm trying to do with this is leverage those lines to kind of give the illusion of clouds. The grain down here is very straight, so that's just foreground and invisible. So that's a thing to consider when you're laying out how you orient the wood. Most of the time, if you're painting a picture like I'm doing here, you want to have your lines of your grain being horizontal because typically you're looking at something with a horizon in it. If you're in the middle of a forest and you're just painting tree trunks, then maybe having the grain go vertical makes sense. But most of the time, it probably is going to make sense that the grain is horizontal. But think about it when you do what you're doing. Don't have your paint fight your wood. Now, another thing is on this picture here, the black line here is about halfway. Now, I'm going to tell a little story that some of you may have heard me say before. There was a movie that came out 4 or 5 years ago by Steven Spielberg called The Fabelmans, and it was autobiographical on his part. He's made it a fictitious family, but it was really about him growing up, his relationship with his parents, etc. And at the very end of the movie, now I'm a movie buff. At the end of the movie, he gets the opportunity. He's an adult now. He gets the opportunity to meet John Ford. Now, for those of you that were John Wayne fans, John Wayne starred in a number of John Ford movies like Red River, Stagecoach, etc. And John Ford, very famous directors in the 40s and the 50s primarily, a lot of westerns and stuff like that. So Steven Spielberg, or whatever Fableman, I don't remember what his name was in the movie, but he goes in and he meets him. And by this time, John Ford's an old crusty guy, and he points at a picture in his office and he goes, "Tell me about that picture." And he starts describing it, and he goes, "No, tell me about the horizon." And he goes, "Well, the horizon's up here on the top of the picture." And he says, "Okay, go tell me about that picture." And he points at another one and he starts to describe it. He goes, "No, tell me where the horizon is." And he goes, it's down here toward the bottom." And he goes, "Remember that. When the horizon is high, it's interesting. When the horizon is low, it's interesting. When the horizon's in the middle, it's boring. Now get the hell out of my office." So that was the story and I've taken that to heart. So right down here, you can see where my black line here is only about a quarter of the way up. And if you look at the original picture, there's not very much of that at all. Now, technically, the horizon is over here, but it's still only a third of the picture. And my horizon is right at this tape line, approximately. So I'm about a third. So it'll make it more interesting. That's the idea here. So you kind of get the idea of how I think about laying out. Let me talk about my masking here so you can see what I've done, and then I'm going to start just continuing on. The edge of the plate has been masked out. I use a tape that's called, this is automotive pinstriping tape. I happen to use this brand. Is that backwards or frontwards to you guys? Does that say K-tape or is it backwards? I can't tell.
It's frontwards. Yeah, you must have your camera mirrored.
Okay, that's fine. I'll leave it. I just didn't know. Anyway, this tape is stretchy in that, and there's lots of brands of it. There's nothing magic about this particular brand. There's a local store that I bought it from that does automotive paint stuff. But what makes this tape special is, if I can get it to start here, is that you can bend it horizontally and not have wrinkles in it. And then you can lay it down, but now I have a smooth line that's curved. So what that allows you to do is I can go all the way around the rim of the plate and mask it off. Now, sometimes you'll see when I paint a plate, I leave that off. I like sometimes to have the rim painted. This one I masked. The tape, it's 1/2 inch wide and the rim's a tiny bit more than that. So I took a piece of masking tape and just laid it around the edge and then folded it over front and back to cover up the rest of the wood to protect it. Sometimes, I did not do it this time, sometimes I worry about the tape even kind of lifting up a little bit so that paint can go underneath it. That's always the worry. And I'll sometimes use a clear paint. The product I'm using for that is this product here from Wicked, or from Createx. It's called Wicked Colors, and this is clear base, transparent base. That's like paint with no pigment in it. So when it dries, it's just clear. Think of it like invisible paint. I can paint that seam all the way around, and it'll leave a hard surface there that seals the edge of the tape to the wood. Then when I spray paint, it won't spray up underneath the edge. But if the clear goes up underneath, who cares? Because it's just clear. And by the way, I'm going to talk more about the Createx paints in my short segment, so I'm not going to spend more time on that. But this is all painted with the Createx paint. So what I've done is I've masked the whole thing out. I then used a cutting knife here. This happens to be a ceramic blade. It's not steel. And I was able to cut out all the foreground images from the background. Now, if you look at the original picture again, you'll see that you can actually see some detail in the lighthouse, and you can even see some fog down here. I decided to simplify the picture and just make all that be shadow, so it's all black. That was a design choice. You can do whatever you like, but it's a way to simplify a picture. You don't have to be as precise. When you look at the one I did prior to this, this was the very first one I ever did, you'll notice it's a little hard to see here, but even in the lighthouse where the light is, there's actually no structure in there at all. That's just a gap. And what I did is I just left that gap open. I put the roof on it. I let the tower come down, and then I painted the beam of light out of that. Did it matter that you don't see all the little detail of the lens and things like you can see here? No, not really, because the impressive part of this is the bright colors, the setting sun, and the beam shooting out. Everything else is just feeding that image. So you can simplify a picture. You're not married to whatever your picture is. So for what that's worth, that gets you an idea of where I'm going. Okay, so what I've been doing here is down here, this is water, and this is sky. So I'm going to carefully peel this tape off to get it out of the way. I got to be careful, come across there. And I'm going to take this piece off so you can see the whole plate. So this is where I am right now. There's still, I have some mask here because I wanted to protect the tower from too much overspray. Now, what I'm going to do is on the picture, I want this to be a little bit brighter near the horizon. So what I have to do for that is I'm actually going to take a piece of that tape I just had, and I'm going to cover up right at the horizon. And now I can spray white in here without it coming down and hitting. With paint, when you're using colors, you have to think about, is it transparent paint or is it opaque paint? Transparent paint, think of it like stain. So the paint I have in this airbrush is white, and it's opaque white. So when I spray it here, it's going to cover. And it does a pretty good job of covering. That's what I want. If I were to spray transparent white, it's going to blend into the yellow and you'd hardly see it. So I'm just going to reach back. I'm going to switch my camera here so you can see the side angle. I'm about 6 inches away, and I'm very lightly dusting in some white. You can see the white building up on the tape. And I'm just gradually making the circle a little bit bigger. And I'm going to come down and kind of fill in those. I'm going to fill in this corner and this corner just a little bit. have the sun kind of on the horizon. Okay, I'm going to call that enough. So now I've made that part bright, and it'll show up a little bit more nicely. Excuse me. So now I have basically two things left. One is I'm going to peel this off, and you can see that left a nice crisp line, but the tape is grabbing. Not what I wanted. Well, I'm going to take it all the way off. I think I'm ready for that. Okay, so one thing happened here, which is this little flap of tape came out and it didn't get painted black. So that is a mistake. I have a little bit of a gap right in here that I have to fill that in. That I'm going to call is a little bit of a mistake. And you can see a little fleck right here. That's where the roof tore off. That's a little bit of a mistake. So what I can do, and by the way, I still have mask up here on the top. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use little bits of tape. And I'm just going to, let's see, I want that to be a little straighter. I'm going to use little bits of tape, and I'm just going to mask out so I can spray a little bit of black in there carefully. That little piece can go right in here. And I need one little piece right at the bottom of that overhang. And now I'm going to use the rest of this masking tape just to kind of protect the sky and things around there. I don't want the overspray to go where I don't want it to go. So now I've masked for this. I've masked. Oh, I got to do that piece up there. Forgot it. So I'll use the one on the other side to help me make a straight line. Going across there. A little too high. Come down just a tiny bit. There we go. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so I have an airbrush with black in it already, and I'm going to go easy with the black. So what I always do is I always test to make sure. Actually, I think this is empty. I might have sprayed out all the black. Nope, I got plenty. So I'm spraying out black, making sure it's spraying good. And now I'm just going to very carefully put some black in on the left side of that tower. So that's black. Now I'm going to come into the base of the tower, and I'm going to hit the eave. And just like that, those are all fixed, and I can peel all this tape away. And voila, it's all good. So that is the way you can deal with that kind of stuff. Now, to differentiate the sky from the water, for the water, you see a lot more, I'm going to use the word grain, but it's actually, I used a stencil when I sprayed the colors in there. I put a base of red down first, a yellow and then red, and then when I sprayed the purple and the blue, I used this mask to have it so that there's more lines in it. If I'm going to move this around, if you see right in here a little bit of reflectivity, I'm going to spray a little bit of pearl paint across the water section to give it just a little bit of reflectivity. And I was trying it here while Todd was talking, or while Lyle was going, and I'm going to do that in a minute. So now what I have left is I have the lighthouse area right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel out that piece. Now I'm being careful with my knife. I don't want to damage the paint. And that mask is down pretty tight. Use a different knife. I have my knife sharpened two ways. One way is I have a blunt sharpening. That's the other one I was using. And this one is very pointy. I use the blunt one for cutting frisket because it's not nearly as aggressive as if I'm spraying with, if I was cutting. This one here will score into the wood. This one here, I learned this trick from Steve Sinner. I sharpen that at an angle that makes the cutting edge right at the tip there about 45 degrees. So it's kind of blunt. It's sharp, but it's not a very, very acute angle like a scalpel like this is. Okay, so that's ready to go. You can see where the lens is, and that's just the bare wood color there. It's actually not a terrible color to have in there. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to paint a lens. What I am going to do is I'm going to tape out the roof, and I'm going to tape out the base right underneath it. And that area in the picture is kind of yellow. And so what I'm going to use here is the opportunity to make this area right in here kind of yellow to match what the lens is doing. And is this my yellow? Yeah, so I have yellow loaded up here in the brush. And I'm just going to dust in some yellow right in that area. And now the lens area is done, and I don't have to draw in the cage or anything like that. I can just peel this tape right out of there. And now I have the lens is basically done. Now all I really have to do is put the beam of light in there and the top coat on, and this is going to be a completed piece. So I'm going to keep working on that during the other people's demos, and when I get around to show and tell, and for the my next round, you'll see, I think, a completed plate.
A couple questions for Joe. Here's one for me. I love that tape that you could bend around corners.
There's nothing magic about this brand. If you go to, what's the name of the company? TCP Global, Tri-City Paint Global. They're actually based here in San Diego, and I think I bought this from them. If you go to anybody that does automotive painting, that sells automotive painting supplies, this is pinstriping tape, and it's polyester, so it bends. This is 1/2-inch wide tape. I would not go any wider than that. It's hard to bend that much around that plate without it starting to want to wrinkle a little bit. They sell a 1/4 inch. I think they sell 3/8 and a 1/8. But there's other brands. You can find this on Amazon. I have another brand here that's blue. I don't even know what the brand name is that I've used as well. But they all, as long as it's polyester, it'll do that bend for you, Cindy. And I think I already answered the question on the template that Mary Alice asked.
They actually sell it on Amazon.
This stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. TCP Global has a pretty big presence on Amazon, and they name their stores. They have
everything is on Amazon.
They have a spray gun store. They have an airbrush store. They have a paint store. All kinds of stuff. They used to sell over the counter here in town, but they quit doing that. So now I have to buy online like everybody else, even though it's only 2 miles away from me. Okay. Next is Steve.
Hooray! It's me. My name is not Mario. My name's Steve Worcester, and I am owner, proprietor, what have you, of turningwood.com. And one of the things we do, we're located in Plano, Texas, and one of the things I like to do is just kind of create, whether it be wood, paper, tape, whatever. And one of the things that I have come up with is our disc tower. These are available in 3-high and 4-high for 2-inch and 3-inch discs. There ample room in there to hold discs. You can hold about 50 plus discs of each grit. So you could go like 80, 120, 180, 240, 320, 400, 600, 800, or however you want to do it. If you want to use a whole floor, as I call them, for a single disc, what have you, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. There is magnets on the back. These are N52 rare earth magnets. These are modular, held together by stainless steel rods that go through it onto nuts. And then you could use this just like it is. We do also have a table mount, which this would bolt to the table, and then with magnets on the bottom of each one as well. Or you can go with a wall mount to where these have a striker plate on it. They would screw to the wall, whether it be stud or drywall, and then you would just pop it into the mount, and if you needed to take it out to fill it up, what have you. And the mount comes with a template for drilling the holes. The mount is also, the back mounts are also 1/4 inch on center, so you could put it onto pegboard should you desire. So they're 2-high or 3-high or 4-high. They're available on the website, turningwood.com. And then the other thing we do is 3-inch and 2-inch. There we go. 3-inch and 2-inch disc holders. These are used for point of use, whereas this is a storage. This is for the point of use. You load it up with discs, one side with your 80, 120, 180, 240, 320, 400, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000. And as you use them, you move it from one side to the next. These are available with or without magnets. They're pretty strong magnets. And available, all of these are available in multiple colors. As you can see here, this is was a custom. I have one of these in 2-inch and 3-inch 4-high with the back and the bottom with contrasting, or if you'd like to do, say, all black here, but colors on the top and bottom and maybe even the mounts, we can do that too. I have a multitude of colors. Is that the right word? Multitude? I think so. And what we're giving away for our raffle prize is 2-inch and 3-inch, one of each, whichever you desire. We're going to give away 2 of them. So if you win, you could pick 2-inch or 3-inch, and you can pick the color. And if you want basic black, that's fine. Basic black is in stock. Colors are a couple days. And for my, let's see, which one is this? Close. For my raffle item, or my, what's that? For my demo and for the piece that is going in the auction, these are lidded pots. They're small, as you can tell. This is a 3-inch disc in the background, and this is what I'm going to be demoing. And these lids are glued on, and the reason for that is that nobody really cares if they're hollow or not, unless you're a wood turner, and the wood turners are the ones who are critical of that. They're going to, that's the guy who's going to pick it up and go, well, you left some in there. It's like, hey man, come on, let's go make some. And that's really what it's all about, is to just make something. We are also a robust lathe dealer, as several other people on the call. We do custom 3D printing. We do die cuts. But what we started with is Mirka abrasives. We carry Mirka Gold, which is a great all-around sandpaper, and that's available in 2-inch and 3-inch. And the disc number is stamped on the back. So once it sits in your pile of shavings at the base of the lathe, then when you threw it off there, you'll figure out what grit it is because it's stamped on there. It just made it easier. It's a laborious process, but so the gold is available up to from 80 to 800 grit. We carry Mirka Galaxy, which is somewhere around here. Here it is a ceramic alumina oxide hybrid. And that is available from 80 grit to 2,000. All of those discs are available in 10 packs and 50 packs. And we've just added a sampler setup where if you wanted one sample of each disc, you can buy that. And, it's one throw out the door and away you go. We carry Abernet, which is really popular. There's a lot of people out there using Abernet. In fact, if you go to the turningwood.com webpage, you'll see a blog post about the disc tower. It's like a under 2-minute YouTube review from Tim Yoder. He raved about it, which I got to give him kudos. That certainly boosted business. And he's a big fan of Abernet. Abernet is available in 2-inch and 3-inch in 10 packs from 80 to 1,000 grit. And then the one that's the outlier is Abralon, which is a great product for resins and high polish situations where that goes. Those are 5 packs of 2-inch and 3-inch, and those are available from 180 to 4,000. Great product for polishing out a film finish, oily woods that you want to get to a really high sheen, that kind of stuff. If you have any questions, call. My phone number is on the website. That is my cell number, and you can email steve@turningwood.com.
Great. Thanks, Steve. I'm next, and here we are. So this is me, Cindy Drozda. And I appreciate all of you guys, and thank you so much for being here, because this time what I really want to talk about is my auction piece. This is a collaboration between me and Lyle turned the vessel and carved it. And I have done a pedestal for it. And what I want to do now is I want to show you how I fit a pedestal to a form. So that's going to be my segment this time. And I do want to talk about the auction. Definitely check out the pieces as we each show them, and bid often, bid high. It's good stuff. All right. So I'm going to start with making this pedestal. And here is, let's just give a little view of the whole thing. Here's the pedestal that I'm about to make. It's oriented this way in the wood. And the vessel, you didn't maybe see all the carving, but Lyle turned and carved this vessel. And then I prepped it with a tenon on the bottom so that I can fit a little recess in the top of the pedestal to that tenon on the bottom. And so that's what I'm going to be doing here. And I want to turn this pedestal so that I have a way to hold. So first of all, I want to finish all sides. I want nice turning on the bottom and a little decoration, and I have to fit it to the vessel. That's going to take some turning and fiddling. So I don't want to have it just in a jam chuck with all of that sticking out while I fit it to the vessel. But I do want to put it in I want to finish the bottom and then put it in a jam chuck for doing the top. So here's what my method for that is. I've got the piece in the chuck with the top in the chuck and the base exposed. And first thing I'm going to do is center this up a little bit better, I think. I don't think I got it in the chuck quite right. So what do we got here? Let's turn it a bit too, because otherwise the chuck's going to try to go right back into the same marks. So that looks a lot better. And we'll bring up the tailstock while the piece is spinning, and that'll get it in a good place. I'm going to find out how much wood I have available by just making a clean cut across the bottom just right up to the tailstock for now. And then I'm making a tenon here so that I can grip the piece on the bottom end. And it's just a tiny little shoulder there. And then I'm going to make the base of the piece smaller than that. So what I did was I put a tenon that is shallower than the depth of my jaws. And now I can make a foot shape here and finish it off here. And I usually leave the tailstock up until the last minute whenever I can. I'm also gonna over here get a little bit started on my foot shape, a little bit of a kind of a asymmetrical half bead, if you will, or something like that. Now I'm ready to take away the tailstock and finish out the bottom of the foot. So we're going to make sure that everything is secure in the chuck, looking good. And I might plan on doing some decoration on the bottom. Right now I'm not going to because I don't have a whole lot of time. So I'm just going to tell you that I would be now finding the middle and maybe putting a jewel in the bottom. That's what I did on this one. I put a jewel in the bottom and I did a bit of texture. And I've left a flat ring here between two beads that is where Lyle and I will sign it. So I'm not going to do all that texture, but fun stuff there. Yep. And so now we've got the bottom done. And here's a little trick. You know, I like to find the middle of the piece so that I can drill the hole or maybe put up a tailstock again. Well, the tailstock sure does a nice job of that. I just found the middle there by bringing up the tailstock, and now I'm ready to drill a hole for the jewel, but I am not going to do that today because I've only got 25 minutes. So now I do this. I turn it around and grip on this tenon here. And you can see that the foot that I just finished and completed and sanded and finished, because I won't have a chance to work it again, I'll finish it as well, is not bottoming out in the chuck jaws. You see, there's space below the foot. So I'm gripping above the finished part, right? And now I'm going to work on the very end. Bring up the tailstock. Sure, why not? It isn't in the way. And I've got a lot of wood to remove because I'm going to take this all the way. Oh, I still don't have that in the chuck very well. So we're doing this over again. Always pays to see if it's spinning true. All right, looking good. Bring up the tailstock while it's spinning so it'll find its true place. And now I'm back up to full speed again. And I'm going to create the interface between the vessel and the pedestal on the very end here. May as well get a bit of this wood out of the way here. But I'm leaving the wood in there for now, just for leave some mass in place. And I'll clean off the end here. Tool rest is a bit high, so that I know where I'm starting from. And I know that one thing I'm going to do is have a little chamfer right here on that interface between the vessel and the foot. This is the edge that's going to sit right on the vessel. So we'll take away the tailstock now, and I'm going to need to move the tool rest every time I tune up the recess I'm going to make. I've got a tenon on my vessel, and I measured that with a caliper. So I'll take the caliper and scribe that diameter on the end and make a recess with my little thin parting tool. You see, this would have been really pretty nerve-wracking to do if I just had the bottom in a jam chuck. And I don't want to be chucking on the bottom because it's a finished surface, and I don't want to have to go back again. And yeah, I know a lot of the time what people do is they have a little recess that they chuck on that is supposedly unnoticeable in the bottom. I don't think it's unnoticeable. I don't care for that. So I like to find a way to jam chuck everything. So now what we're doing is checking to see if that fits, and it's not quite a fit yet. So I'm using my thin parting tool here, using actually the top edge of the thin parting tool to just take a little bit off. Until I get a fit, a very nice fit. That's great. And I'm looking to see that the rim of that foot contacts the piece all the way around. If it doesn't, I might have to undercut the end of the piece, the end of the foot a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some glue grooves here. I'm going to make one right at the edge so that glue doesn't squeeze out all over the place, and then a couple more here and deburr the corner and a couple in the bottom of here. And now I'm ready to put the finished foot in a jam chuck. So it's going to be oriented exactly the same way, but this foot's going to go in a jam chuck now. And once it's in the jam chuck, I can bring up the tailstock and do all the turning totally stress-free. And I do have show specials, but I'll be talking about those later in my other segment. All right. Caliper. The part of the foot that's going to go in the jam chuck, not the part of the foot that went in the chuck before. Scribe. Oh, so that's that little bit on there is too big. You know, with jam chucks, I'm always saving bits of wood that were previous jam chucks, and I have a whole box full of them. And when I need one, I go and just see what I can find that looks like it'll work. Okay, got the diameter there, and maybe we could get a little more light on the subject. That's better. And now I'm just going to use my bowl gouge. There are lots of ways I could do this. I'm going to use my bowl gouge and deepen a recess almost out to the line. And then I'll use my recess finishing tool, holding it parallel to the bed of the lathe so that I can make a parallel-sided recess to hopefully fit my foot. And that's a little bit loose. So, you know, that's because I'm going in a hurry. I've only got a few minutes. But what do I do if I have a too loose fit? They call that the French fit, Toulouse, from Toulouse-Lautrec. All right, so this is not a very demanding jam fit, right? It just has to be a fit because I'm always going to have up the tailstock the whole time. And it should spin true out at the end, which it's not. I think because my jam fit's not as good as one might hope for. But now my job merely is to create the shape of my dreams on the blank. And I want to talk about one part that's kind of a critical part here. That is at the very bottom. I need to, I'll have a lot of wood to remove here, a lot of wood. I need to create the top surface of that foot piece. And what I mean by that is where the foot, you see, I didn't cut enough off yet. I need to cut off so that where I made the bottom of the foot is cut off right where I want the top of the foot to be. Actually, that's not a very good jam fit, so I'm ending up with trouble here, all for the sake of going fast. I should know better, really, shouldn't I? So I've got to take off enough here to get the interface between what I already turned and what I'm turning now. And what I really need to do here is recut this jam chuck. So now I've got the foot the way I wanted it. Like this, right? So I've created that bottom of the foot, and I can start turning and do all the turning for all of the shape between centers now, nicely held between centers and easy to access everything. So that's going to give me the ability to turn this foot, this pedestal, having fit it precisely to my vessel, and having finished the bottom with some nice embellishments of my choice. That's what I wanted to show you here today. And so another thing I want to show you is, let's get this piece out of the lathe, because I want to show you what I'm going to do next weekend for my mushroom box IRD. And check this out, what I've been working on. Mushroom boxes can be made out of a piece of branch wood, like this picture here, or it could be made out of a piece of burl, like this one. And one of the things I'm going to show is, I've kind of been on a gilding demo kick lately, and so I want to cover different ways that I do gilding. I did the inside of the gilded sphere box a while ago, and this time I'm going to talk about gilding a natural edge. And this is great stuff, isn't it? This is chameleon flakes. It's done just like gilding, but look at how, on a textured surface, this stuff really looks cool. It's every which way you turn it, you see a different color reflected, and it looks great on like a burl interrupted surface. Here's the box. So I'll be making a mushroom box out of a burl cap like that, to use that texture, and then I can gild the natural edge of this branchwood mushroom also. This is ethereal flakes, done kind of the same way as the gilding and as the chameleon flakes. And I will also be showing real gold leaf on a natural edge that would be kind of similar. Here's the chameleon flakes, kind of similar to when I do a piece like this and I gild the rim. So I'll be gilding the rim of a mushroom box, and the techniques are useful for gilding a natural edge rim of a burl of pretty much any kind. All right, so we'll be doing a little hollow form with a little bowl that fits over it. And I guess that's really all I wanted to talk to you about right now. But I will say that I have a QR code to subscribe to my channel, meaning my website, my newsletter. Not a subscribe like YouTube. This is get my newsletter. And I will give you the links to my free events, and I'll give you indication of what's coming up next. So look at the auction items and bid on them. And I hope somebody gets my beautiful collaboration with Lyle. He did a great job on the carving, and the pedestal looks really good. I'll put a picture of that up right here. Okay, so up next we have Lyle.
There we go. Now I got a full screen. So I can talk about my my tools in business. I've been working on wood turning all my life. I grew up with it as a kid and been doing it forever. And along the way, designed a hollowing system that really works. Back in 1996, prior to that, we were all just sitting on the lathe and hanging on to a handheld tool of some kind and hoping we don't get a catch. So that changed the world of hollowing. Let me show you how easy it is to get set up. Let me go back to that camera on the lathe. So the first component is a backrest. That's the stabilizing factor that holds everything in place so we can't get a catch, never can get grabby or aggressive, and lets us have fingertip control because of the backrest support. The handle is going to go in here. The handle is a D-shaped handle. This torquing resistance force here, while we're doing bulbous shapes, that tool wants to torque, twist, rip your elbow out of your socket and whatever. So now because of this broad brush, all of those torquing forces are gone, and we can just go up to the front and use our fingertips. The laser's hooked to it and moves with it, and the laser's a huge part because of the measuring that we'd have to do. The old way of doing it by hand and stopping, taking calipers and measuring and stopping and taking calipers and measuring, and then you get into a bulbous shape that calipers won't reach and other things. And all of our old way of turning was sitting down here and hanging onto the end of a handle and looking in the hole. Well, now we just stand here and our sight is watching the laser, and we just use our fingertips. If we get in a hurry, we can use two hands to hog stuff off with, but especially when we're cleaning up tool marks, we just use our fingertips. So as you saw in the earlier demo, the laser is set up with a gap, and the gap between the laser and the cutter becomes my caliper, and it measures the wall for me. And even if I was this young stud and didn't care about beating up my body, I'd have a captured system because of the laser. It adds so much. You don't have to stop and measure. And I can, well, I didn't get a chance to show you this time, but it's in my DVD. The process that I use to finish the bottom is huge. I can, in fact, in an open vessel like this, the one that we have that's more of a Native American shape, I can see in the bottom, and I have to finish the bottom somehow. And using the carbide cutter, I have a carbide cutter that the Hunter carbide cutter is the sharp carbide, and I have it on a dedicated angle. And you see it in the camera, it's on an angle. And so the carbide cutter is slicing through the fibers instead of scraping with the high-speed steel cutters. And so that leaves a much better surface left behind. I don't have to sand so much, especially for things like lidded boxes and whatnot. So all these components are coming with it, comes with it, and it's compatible. Let me, if I can here, let's go to this camera and show some capability issues. Here we go. I think that's about right. There we go. All right. There's some times when we do a vessel like this that we have to get down into a small bottom or a confined area like a lidded box. So sometimes we need to have a cutter with a straight end in it. If it's got a hook to bend in it, the hook will hit the sidewall of the vessel and I can't cut in the middle. So there's sometimes we need to have a straight one. And if we're getting into a small entry hole and getting down in the bottom in that area, if I have a small entry hole, I can't kick it on the side because the hole's going to bind me up and I can't do that. So I need to have a system so that the boring bar will reach over and cut a bulbous shape. So that's what I used today, this morning, is the bent swivel holder with a little bend in it. It's got a bend in it. And that bend doesn't look like it's very much, but it'll reach a bulbous shape like this or a spherical shape real easy. Still get into that small entry hole, but with the swivel assembly, now I can reach around and get in any shape I want. And the swivel is an important part of that, as you saw this morning or earlier today. Now, the third reach capability is if I want to do something like I did for Cindy in a more flat, shallow vessel, I still have to get into a relatively small entry hole, but I need to have the boring bar reach over and get up into there. Well, my boring bar is dual purpose. On this end, I've got the straight cutter on a 45-degree angle, and on the other end, I've got the straight hole with the 45-degree, with the cutter going straight out. So the boring bar does two purposes. I don't use this very much, except for larger vessels. The one that I did in the Cindy scale one, I could use the little bent one. So we've got 3 different reach capabilities to do any shape that we want. We can do any anything that we want with the laser, and using the laser to see. One of the really cool things that I use the laser for, let me move this over here, is I don't think we can, yeah, I think I can almost show that. Let me shut the lights off. And all right, when I get in the bottom of the vessel, I can't do that. I can cheat. All right, I'm going to go here like this. All right. Okay, when I get the the bottom all done, I set the laser with no gap, and then I know exactly where my depth is in the bottom. This is so cool. I can see with the laser right through the waste wood that I have to hold it up with. I can see the depth and the shape of the inside of my bottom. That's just so cool to use the laser in the bottom. So the laser is a critical part to be able to do this. And if I'm using regular calipers, how can I get down into the bottom of some shapes? Or if I'm standing behind the lathe at the end of the lathe, I can't see the laser back here either. So there's lots of different systems out there that have some limits that I try to, when I design this, limits and obstacles drive me crazy. So I wanted to open up possibilities and have a system that can do anything. So
you're on your last minute, Lyle?
Thank you for that.
A question in chat, or do you want to cover that later?
So that's pretty much, I guess I can real quickly, if I can find it here. Well, I can't, but anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the carbide cutter. The carbide cutter is a huge little accessory. Oh, and the other thing that I have that is a signature piece is I have Doug Thompson making my bowl gouges for me with a parabolic flute, and it's a little bit wider, a little bit deeper than any of the others, and my bowl gouge has a 60-degree bevel and a swept back wing that is very, very, and again, because of its versatility, I use this for almost everything. And the total outside of my vessel, I use the bowl gouge for. So, okay, that's a quick description of my tools.
Okay, so my turn. There's the eggs. Keep bidding. I appreciate it so much. So for my demo, I turned this from a block this morning as we were starting the stream. So it's kind of funny. I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to show when it came to my turn, but I thought I also do remote demonstrations. So please, if your club needs a remote demonstration, reach out to me. Let me know. I'll send you some information on what I can demo, and I'd love to do that. Keep on doing that. Okay, and next I got to see that I want to say that yesterday was my live stream, and I did some bowl coring. So check that out. I live stream every second Friday. Cindy does one every other Friday to mine. And so those are a lot of fun. So check that out. It should be a good time. So, and then in June, we are doing a sharing session. So you get onto one of our newsletters and you'll learn about all that. And that's an interactive Zoom call with all you participating, showing off your wares, your turnings, your prized possessions, answering a lot of questions, giving a lot of answers, and sharing among the wood turning community. So that should be good. And I think that is it. Not thank you for now, but we'll get to it. So I want to show off the couple of tools from the Woodcut Proform range. Here is, and let me take my little self off there. Here is the Proform straight bar in the Woodcut ProMaster handle. And that handle is about 20 inches long. And I've got attached to it 16 inches of my handle. So this thing altogether, if I show this one, is about 4 feet long. So that's crazy long, but the leverage just helps. And it also helps the balance when I'm reaching this over the rest a little bit farther, that I have more handle behind me. So 5/8 adapter goes on to the spigot end of the ProMaster. So you can add more handle to it, whether it's mine or whether it's some other 5/8 type of handle. So the cutter itself is a kind of a hook tool in a way. If you look at the bottom side of it, you kind of see that sort of hook tool shape, and it's got a brass guard on it on top. So it's kind of hard to see the shape without that guard, but under this side is the exhaust port, as it's called. So it cuts on the side here, on the nose, all around this cutting edge here, and all the chips come out here. We'll show that here in a minute. So the other one that we have is a smaller version of it, and I've got a magnet on it to hold all the tools, is the Proform Flexi. And unfortunately, we're all out of the Flexis at the moment, but this is what I wanted to show you. It's basically the same kind of cutter. It's slightly smaller than the big one I just showed, but it's got this linkage system so you can get around corners. And it comes with another sort of half-arced link I don't have handy. It's in the drawer. So you can take this one out, put the half-arced in one to get a better reach. Always keep your cutter in line with the bar. So that's what you want to do. And this is a 1/2-inch bar where that Proform is 5/8. So a little bit, this meant for more smaller hollow forms and stuff like that. It's great for clearing out either end grain or cross grain forms, usually wet to let them dry and then final shape with other tools. You can final shape with these, but they are a bit, they remove a lot of wood quickly. So if you're getting down to a thinner wall, you may want to do another tool that's maybe not quite as efficient. I don't know what the word is, but you'll see this work in a minute here, and we'll show that. So we've got a couple of views to watch this with. This side sort of view, you'll see the tool, and you can see that we've got to get busy and cut this wood because it's starting to crack a little bit. So I want to get this hollowed out, rough hollowed, and so we can abate that cracking. So I cleaned this face off and all the cracks are gone just 40 minutes ago. And so we're seeing this thing crack live. So we got to get busy. This other one is sort of an end view. And when I set up to hollow here, by the way, I'm using the Irons tool gate. That's what this tool post is with this gate system. A swivel here, and you've got a pin or it's a cotter pin or safety pin. It comes out. You can move it to whatever post hole you want. It's kind of like a metal spinning tool rest, if you will. This yoke holds the 5/8 bar down there, or it'll hold the whole bar up here. You'll see that as well in this wider point. So, but as I hold this back here, the view you're seeing me at is this camera lens is about 4 inches from my face, and this so that at my height. So this is kind of the view I see as I'm looking at this thing. So let's get going. I've drilled a starter hole. I've put a little bit of shape on the outside here. You can kind of see it's got a little bit of a belly to it. and stuff like that. So, and this is silver maple, and let's get started with maybe this one and this one in there, and I'll move that back a little bit just so you can see the tool action on that yoke as far as that goes. Okay, so normally I would move my headstock kind of down the lathe a little bit so I could stand off the end comfortably, but camera systems don't allow me to do that. So I've actually got the lathe in a low speed range. That's simply because of what I did yesterday. I was bowl coring and it was in the low speed range. I left it there. I didn't need that high speed. I'm going to turn this probably 600 RPM, maybe 700 RPM to hollow. Don't need high speed for this tool. So there we are, about 650, maybe thereabouts. This tool rests in the yoke, and I've got it tucked under my arm. And if I kind of show this view again with this off, I'm going to be here. I'll show it over here. I'm going to be tucked under my arm this way, holding it here and across here like that, hollowing. So that is the way. That is the way. So that's the way I hollow this thing. So, and I use little back and forth wiggle movements to get cutting. So we'll just cut away. You can see the chips are flying off just as regular sort of shavings, not dust. I've drilled a starter hole all the way to the bottom. It's about a 7/8 starter hole. Here's the side of the cutter cutting. Nose of the cutter. Go down the sidewall again. My task is to kind of get a little bit out of the middle. I'll come back to the outside and clean up that shoulder. Let's come back and do this next section. So for that, I'm simply going to take the yoke, put it over here, and continue with this section here. So I'm a bit more off axis just to reach this. And I'm going to just move the tool rest just a little bit. Wrong way, Todd. I wanted to go back in this way a little bit. Get that in there. Now I got a better angle to kind of go down the sidewall a bit more. But it's really quite easy. So once you get the gap in the blade and the cutter the way you like it, cutting off the right amount. If we stop and take a look, we'll see maybe, and stop the lathe for a second. We'll see the shavings we got coming off here. I just want to zoom in a little bit. So they're about that wide, and generally all about that wide. So, and about that thick. And what that means is that I've got a gap in this cutter head around that brass gauge, just the right amount to where I can feel it. If I take my thumbnail down there, it's going to cut. And so you get that gap about 0.5 millimeter consistent all the way around. You loosen this bolt. There's a little, let me blow the dust out of there. There's a little cammed screw head, Allen head screw. It's cammed. So if you loosen this, then you use that Allen key, that will swivel this brass, sorry, off this camera again a little bit. Let me just shift here a little bit so I can rest it there. that little cam screw would move this brass head just a little bit, and then you can move it forward and back a little bit and get that gap right. It is kind of something to set it up, but once you get used to how it moves and where you want it, it goes pretty quick to set it. And once I'm set it, I'm pretty much forgetting it for this hollow form. So sharpening happens with a hone. And I'll see if I can do this in view of the camera. So it's got a straight edge right up there. So I'm going to take this hone, I'm going to hold it, and I would do it in a different fashion, but I want to hold it so it's hitting that flat. And that view is kind of showing it there. So I want to get that where it kind of bevels in the flat and just kind of hone it all the way. This is hollow ground, so you're going to get shiny marks on the bottom and the top. So you can see there's a little glint on the top there and a little bit on the heel. So that's all there is to sharpening this thing, is a hone. I don't know if I would ever take it to a grinder, because it's they have some sort of jig set up to grind these things, but you could probably figure it out. I just haven't done it. I find honing, I hone my hook tool and I hone this tool almost exclusively instead of grinding them. So let's carry on. And we'll get to questions at the end, if I have time in this segment or at the last break. We will go. But if anybody has somebody has a question, and maybe one of the other guys can let me know if there's a question I need to answer. I can't really see what I'm looking at right now. Okay, there's a couple questions. Cindy, do you just want to hop on StreamYard and ask away while I'm doing this?
Okay, yeah. Would you like to know the questions?
Yeah.
First one is the yoke necessary, or can a regular tool rest work?
Good question. Yeah, no, the yoke is not necessary, and I realized I didn't change my camera view while I was doing that. You could do this off a regular tool rest, and I've done that before. I find this very handy, though, so I'm just going to keep doing it this way. But yeah, a tool rest, what you would do with a tool rest is maybe use a pool cue grip, if you will. So if this is a regular rest, I might be kind of like this with it, and using that as a fulcrum for my movements. It's a bit more difficult because your hand has to be up here. I kind of like being back here where my hand is kind of back a ways and using my body to swivel. So that's why I like the yoke. But you can, and I think Phil Irons does a lot of it this way. So Phil Irons is a master of this thing. He's been using it for 30 years, and it's what he uses to hollow all his hollow forms, at least from a rough perspective. Okay, other questions, Cindy?
The other one you already answered. It was about sharpening, so carry on.
Oh, okay, perfect. Look at that. Plan a demo in 5 minutes and you manage it. So I'm just going a little bit deeper in there. And let me do this sort of bird's eye view of what I see as I'm doing this in that view. And maybe we'll get Cindy's micro light up here to hollow or to see inside there. Bring out those shavings. Is that too bright maybe? There we go. All right. Into, I wonder, maybe I just might go here. I think I'm going to hit Cindy's light a little bit. So now we'll go down to the center. Get a little bit deeper. And little wiggles back and forth. Keeping the cutter engaged is really sort of the best way I've found. That's what Phil taught me. So keeping the cutter engaged stops you from getting those. And I'm hitting against my yoke. I can't get any deeper. So I either extend my tool, or I pull the tool in and rest the tool on this big bar. So before I go deeper, and move the tool. I'll actually move this back and get that sidewall down to that depth as well. So it's and I am 7 minutes left. Okay, good. So these tools, Woodcut Tool is a New Zealand-based company. They've been in business for 30 years, and they make this tool and all the other woodcut tools that they've been marketing for a while. And I'm just at depth now. So I'm going to go down the wall in its entirety. Okay, let's kind of stop and see what that...
Todd Williams wants you to try to do the rim thinner.
The rim thinner, this thinner? We could do that. I'm just trying to see where there's that crack right there. It's just a little bit remaining. So we'll go a little bit thinner. So I'll pull this out just a little bit to get access to the rim. And we'll go down the whole thing a little bit thinner. Oops, on target. And I'm kind of arcing here a little bit because my outside arcs a little bit. So I'm kind of trying to make sure I don't go through that wall. Got a little stickiness there. Something held me up there.
Question, how deep can you go with this tool?
As deep as your bar allows you. So let's show that now. So let me just see. That's pretty consistent. I got a little hump right here. I think that's where that knot is. No, there's nothing there. I don't know what I was trying to figure out. There's knots down here a little bit further. And so I was trying to figure out what was vibrating. There's a knot there, or a little one there, a little figure there. But let's take a look at, let me grab the hex wrench. All right, we'll show you how long this thing is in terms of the toolbar itself. And let me take that off and maybe, not that one. That will go overhead. I can widen this out. All right, so the bar is about that long. It's about a foot long, maybe thereabouts, maybe 13, 14 inches. Got flats on there for set screws to hold it here. But I tend to, and what Phil does is put it down in deep. And so I'm going to do that. I'll show you this, and we'll use the yoke on this part here. So it's a bit stiffer. You've got this whole 5/8 bar buried deep into this, I don't know, 1 inch bar. I'm not sure how big a diameter it is, to be honest with you. So now it's actually a bit shorter, but we're going to rest the yoke on here. What I need to do is to drop the tool rest a little bit because I'm up from this level to this level. So about a 1/2 inch maybe.
Question, there. Can the tool rest be moved closer to reach further in?
Yeah, so you can spin the tool rest in and have your yoke sit inside, and show that one. So you need a little bit bigger opening, obviously, to do that. This pin has to stick down a little bit, and but I'm just going to do it from this perspective. It's just a little bit clearer view for all of you to see. So we are about there. I'm aiming down ever so slightly. I want to kind of be level with my bar as I go in. Oops, my banjo wasn't locked. Let's try that. Now we can reach the bottom and do that bottom part without locking up there. So that's locked. That's locked. I don't even have my safety glasses on. I'm so far back from this turning that I think I'm fine. Let's try that one again. Power on. 2 minutes. Okay, let's see if we can get to the bottom in 2 minutes. There we go, just continuing down the center hole. And let me see if a bit more light in there, you can kind of see. Just taking down that sidewall. I can see the bottom down in there now. It's maybe half an inch left. And there's bottom. So we are now on the bottom. You can kind of understand why you need this longer handle, because as we're, is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. As we're going down there, it is some overreach. And I'm running out of time. So
you're running out of time. You got a question or two. You want to save them or take them now?
No, let's take some now. And
okay.
Let's see what we have there.
Let's see. Any reason not to use the cutter assembly with Lyle's bar and laser system?
Cutter assembly with on the end of this tool. This is, I don't know if the spigot size would be the same. And putting a laser on a freehand tool, just, I don't know, would be very bouncy. I just, go by eye. But, wood turners try lots of different solutions. I'm not saying no. I just haven't tried it. I don't know if it'd work. So you try it, though. Good question.
The other question is, can you ship to the UK? Charlie wants to know. Can I ship to
the UK? Woodcut, I think, is sold by Axminster. You might find them there. But I do ship to the UK. You will have probably a cheaper buy if you buy locally in your country for this. So check out Axminster. I think they carry woodcut products. Call Phil Irons. He'll know where to get them over in that part of the pond, but that part of the world. But we will ship. It's going to be expensive.
We've got Joe next.
All right.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, everybody.
Nice job.
Okay, everybody. So I've got my short segment now. So just for contact information, it's airbrushingwood.com. That's my phone number. And that's my email address. But if you go to airbrushingwood.com, all the rest of it is in there. I saw somebody ask the question, so that just gets you the information quickly. Here's the plate again. That is, I still have to finish one more coat of top finish on it. I'm using lacquer to go on there and then buffing it. It's a satin lacquer. I don't like it to be too shiny, just enough to have some richness to it. I'm really happy the way this turned out. So there you go. Bid on that. Love that to help St. Jude's. Okay, that's trash. Let's get a clean piece of paper. Okay, what I wanted to talk a little bit about is it's a little too much glare there. Pull this stuff out. These are the Createx paints. Now, if you were to go to Createx and look at the paints that they sell, you're going to find you're going to be overwhelmed. They have a ton of products. So this is their catalog of paint, and it is 36 pages of stuff. And if you're not sure what you're shopping for, you're going to get overwhelmed. Createx is a spray paint company. So they make paint for spraying cars. Their paints are designed to be sprayed in airbrushes and in spray guns. It's used a lot in automotive, but they have several lines of products. You can see right here they have what they call Createx airbrush colors. They have illustration colors. They have Wicked colors, and there's a few varieties of those. And there's Candy O, which is kind of a dye. What I am focused on is the Wicked colors. And the reason for that is the Createx airbrush colors, think of that, they're ideal for soft surfaces like painting t-shirts. You can use it on hard surfaces, but it's not really designed for that. Illustration colors are people that are doing photorealistic paintings. If you're going to paint a portrait, you're going to use this. This paint is a lot thinner than these other products, than these two airbrush paints. And I have it here for me to play with, but I don't love the color palette quite as much as I love the color palette available in Wicked. Wicked is the product that I've chosen to represent. By the way, if you're interested in any of it, I can get it. I'm not going to carry it. I'm going to focus on the Wicked. But here is just the start of the Wicked colors. So here's all their transparent colors, and that's what's going to be in these starter kits that I'm going to show you here in a second. They have opaque colors, they have fluorescents, they have pearls and metallics, and they have pearl flakes, and this is more of the metallic and stuff here. And then they have Wicked detail colors. Like I said, there's a huge array of stuff. I'm going to mostly focus, at least starting out as I carry them, on just the Wicked transparent colors primarily. It lines up the best with what I was doing with the Grex paint prior. So you can get an idea. So if you wanted to buy just a starter set of paint, this right here is the Wicked primary set, red, yellow, blue, and black and white. And then and a bottle of reducer. In my starter kit, the one you would get when you buy a whole airbrush kit, you'll get both the primary set and the secondary set. This is yellow, orange, green, purple, a brown color, and some more reducer. And so you end up with 10 bottles of paint here. Now, how does it compare to the Grex paint? I was very happy with the Grex paint. David Nittman was the one that turned me on to Grex paint about 20 years ago. And I had been using golden paint prior to that, and I fell in love with the Grex paint, and that's what I used pretty much until I took over the business from David 10 years ago. So it's really good paint. The Wicked paint is excellent paint also, but a couple things to take note. These bottles are 2-ounce bottles. So here's just the bottle of blue, for example. It's a 2-ounce bottle. The Grex paint is, here's a bottle of Grex, is a 1-ounce bottle. The price for those are about the same. So you're actually getting a lot better value with in terms of dollars per ounce, if you want to say it that way, with the Wicked paint. So that gives you an idea of the thing. So prior, if you bought the kit from me, you were going to get 14 ounces. Here you're getting 2, 4, 6, 8, 20 ounces of paint to start with. And of course, with these colors, you can make any other color just by mixing. The one thing that's notable about Wicked paint, and every brand of airbrush paint is a little bit different. In this case, it's the viscosity. Wicked paint and all the Createx paints, for the most part, are thicker than Grex paint, and Grex paint happens to be thicker than golden high flow paint if you happen to use that. So that's kind of gives you an idea. So when you're using the Createx colors, you have to use their reducer to thin it a little bit. In just the ballpark, it's about 10% reducer to 90% of paint is kind of their
3 minutes, Joe.
Okay, is the recommended ratio. So anyway, I sell these individually. They come as a kit. If you buy the big kit, you get the bottle of clear base as well, as I mentioned earlier. The other thing I just want to mention is just to remind you about the airbrushes. There's a Tritium, there's the Genesis, And here's the Genesis Essential. Pistol grip, a traditional airbrush. This brush and this brush are the same brush, but when you buy this brush, it comes like this. When you buy the traditional one, you get 3 cups plus the grip, and then if you buy the tritium, you get this, and with the 3 cups as well. All the parts here are cups and needles and stuff are interchangeable on these airbrushes. I think that's really all I wanted to hit on. Again, bid on the auction pieces, and if you have more questions, we can address them later in the comments.
And Steve is next.
Ta-da! So as we know, I'm Steve Worcester, and by the way, these shirts are for sale on our website too. And so what I'm going to show you is a lidded box. Well, it's a lidded form. Like this would be something typical. This is out of red oak as I was doing my practice pieces this week. I learned to do this from Laurent Niclot, who makes really small teapots, and during a class at John C. Campbell. So I have a piece of cherry on here. It's pretty dry, not necessarily completely dry. I've done a tenon. I have turned it round, put it into a chuck, and we're going to start to go from there. I don't know if I can do this completely in 25 minutes afforded to me, but we'll do the best we can. And if there's questions, just tell them to me right now. I'm going to take this down and get the hole from the live center out, and then get a little bit of clearance. This is end grain. Well, it's flying wood. See, if I was doing a video, I would cut that part out. On occasion, you get distracted. That's what happens. I'm going to switch to a smaller gouge. This is a Cindy Drozda gouge, one of her detail gouges. And I want to just get a little pointy tip on there. Okay. And then we want to give us a little clearance there. So we're going to take a broad tip parting tool. And we want to get that down to about 10 millimeters. And I have my trusty 10 millimeter wrench here. And we're not even close. That's fine. And what I want to do also is undercut this a little bit. This is going to be the lid. And before
Steve, do you have a closer view
of that? Is that closer?
That's closer.
Oh, you know what's weird is it's not. Anyway. Todd, is that what you're looking for, or a different angle? And what we'll do is something a little bit stubby shaped. Now, since this is end grain, you can't just cut in any direction. You have to respect the bundle of straws, because my grain is going in this direction. So if I try and cut into it this way, let's see, where do I want to be? My grain is going this direction. So if I try and cut into it in this direction, I'm going to cut directly into the bundle of straws, which makes it very difficult to cut. And before I get too tied up in there, nope. Evidently the wood is not as dry as it professes to be. So I put a moisture meter on it, and it was 6% on the outside, but 13 when I cut it. So let's do a little bit here. All right. That's getting pretty close. There we go, like that. And what I want to do is take a small gouge now, a fingernail ground gouge, and do a little bit of undercut here. So that way, if there is anything, if there is a little bit of bump in the top of the form, then it'll fit just fine. And the thing about that too is that I need to make sure that when I do my undercut, it ends up getting a little bit fatter right here underneath. And so you need to make sure that you take that out so it'll fit okay. And while it's on here, I'll go ahead and do some white sanding, because once we take it off, it makes it kind of difficult to do that. And for that, I bring up a little bit of dust extraction. Good enough. And what I want is really crisp edges. So I want this to be, I would say knife-like, but, and since this is end grain, you need to give a little feel to see if there is any pick out in there that we are going to have to go back in and cut it back. So now I'm going to use a really thin parting tool. Part that off. So there's our lid. And see, this is undercut. What I wanted to make sure is this part right here, at where the tenon meets the base, is not larger than the 10 millimeters. Okay, now what I want to do is take this part off without throwing it off the lid. Always a good strategy. And I want to make that a little bit of an indention so that the drill has a place to get to. All right, so now what I'm going to do is drill the hole. And I'm using 10 millimeter. It's plenty of room to, I'm getting ahead of myself here. It's plenty of room to get the tools in. The tools I'm using are 3/16 of an inch. And these are Laurent's tools. That I am also a reseller of. And what I want to do now is measure about how deep, and it's based on where this surface is. And use a indelible marker, keeping in mind that this is a bit that is a wood bit, so it has that little spike in the bottom or on the end, however you want to look at it. So I go to my mark, then pull the drill out. Take the drill bit out. Take that out of the tailstock so I don't give myself a tattoo. Clean this up a little bit. Now I sharpened all my tools beforehand. And since I'm only doing this one vessel, it's plenty. But if I was going to be doing a bunch, then what I would do is use a slip or something like that. And Mrs. Jordan's not here, but they do sell a small ceramic slip. All right. So we want to move this back around to the side here. And what I want to do is make sure that the tool I'm using isn't going to bottom out on the bottom of the hole here. So this is the straight tool. And you can't see it here, but there is writing on it, which at times comes in handy so that you can gauge depth. And here is my curved tool, hook tool, if you will. And that is, these are, I believe, 3/16 in diameter. I do sell them on the site. So the first thing I want to do is go in here. And because this is, well, any wood actually is going to expand as you remove it. So you don't want to spend too much time in here, especially initially, because it will grab the tool. So I have my, I think, patent pending Laurent Niclot mini air compressor here. And just a click, just like that. I actually don't know if they sell these. A straw works just as well, but you know, it's not stainless and laser engraved. How much time do I have? I need a musician to tell me what that note is. So you really don't have to hollow these. There's nothing that says you have to hollow it. You could just as soon just drill it so that it's going to accept the lid you're going to put on there. And then glue the lid on. I glue the lids on because that way they don't get lost. And otherwise, I mean, people are going to fiddle with it anyway. All right, so let's pretend that we hollowed this out more. And what we would normally do is, I spit on it, is use our, once again, Laurent's calipers. And right now it's about a fat finger thick, but that's okay. We're not here to finish this completely. Let's sand this just a little bit. It's interesting that you get 25 minutes, but when you're up here doing this, even if you've done this 100 times, I rarely get it done within that period of time. All right. So quickly, we're going to give this a little push there. And I want to undercut this a little bit as well because I want it to sit flat. Like that. Okay, we'll go back to this one. This is a thin tool, so it's not really meant for this. So if I take my thicker parting tool and go in at an angle, Now understand that the parting tool is straight across. So you could take a parting tool that has a slight angle to it, and it would cut a little bit different if you want to dedicate a parting tool to that kind of thing. All right. Slow this down a bit. And see, it's hitting right here. So you should do a little bit more, another clearance cut. And then, so there's your basic vessel.
And there he is, right on time.
Good stuff, Steve.
So we need to make the hole a little bit bigger, but that's really easy to do at this point. And there we go. A wonky flying piece of wood.
Yay.
Very
Well done.
good.
Well done. Steve, I think
And-
sorry. Cindy, I think you're up next. So
Next up is me. Yes. Hello, everyone. This is me. These handle adapters are set up to fit a round, half-inch, and all the tools I have on the special page are half-inch diameter. So the one adapter will fit both tools you order, and this goes in here. And you can tighten the set screws down. The other thing about the set screw is you can tighten it down on a tool that's got a rectangular tang also, which I do for all of my rectangular tang tools. This one's not on the page, but just because I forgot to do it, and I will put it there. So this is the kind of handle you can make with those handle adapters. Wood, drill a hole, epoxy this in. First scuff up the aluminum so it'll make a good bond. And I've got only a few minutes, but I want to run through the tools. I've got a half-inch 40-40 grind bowl gouge, a beading and parting tool, which can be used either as a cutting tool or as a negative rake scraper. And I use that a lot for sizing tenons and such. An 1/8-inch parting tool, which I use for also sizing tenons and things like that, but for parting off and that kind of thing. This one is called straight side flat bottom box because it makes a straight sided and flat bottomed box. It's a negative rake scraper, double bevel scraper, that is. You can use it either with the corner in the corner of the box or the radius in the corner of the box. And this radius allows you to get across the bottom without having the edge dig in. This one I call a 50-50 scraper because it has a 50-degree included angle like all the rest of these scrapers do, and a 50-degree skew angle there. And it's basically not really a skew, it's a scraper. Round nose scraper. This is the recess finisher that I use to size the jam chuck in my other segment when I was mounting the pedestal in a jam chuck so that I could do its bottom first. And this is a miniature version of my arc scraper. Again, negative rake, double beveled scraper with a 50-degree included angle. And I call it a hook scraper. It's not a hook tool like Michael Husselhook hook tool. This is a negative rake scraper, and I use it for undercutting small boxes. So yeah, there we are. Okay. So.
Well done, Cindy. These are my 2 eggs. We're currently, where are we at in the bids? I gotta look that up. My jeweled egg, the one on the right, sorry, is where'd it go? $100, and the inked one.
That's me.
Oh, you got it? Oh, nice.
We can bid too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Good. There's the current bids. Lyle and Cindy's elevated hollow form at $250. We don't have the names of the people, but we have them saved. We don't have the names on this comment, but we have them saved elsewhere.
That would make the
My
comment
jeweled
too
egg,
long.
yeah, my jeweled egg to $100. The inked egg $50. It looks like Cindy has got that one. Steve's small lidded hollow pots, 2 of them for $100. Joe's painted plate $130, and Mike's hollow form finished after the event $200. Nice.